So it was December 22nd, 1998. The previous 6 months, I'd actually became friends with Billy Joel's road manager, a gentleman by the name of Max Loubier. Got a few little goodies from him along the lines. Also saw Billy Joel and Elton John play together quite a bit, so it was a lot of fun. But when December rolled around, they were doing some shows at Madison Square Garden. My sister Linda flew in from San Francisco. My wife Jackie and I, as well as our son Brian, the four of us went to New York to go see Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden. Actually, that's where I picked up this hat too for the tour. But what was really funny was we had backstage passes, or I had a backstage pass, and we had seats right up front. And Billy's always really good with his band too, and he oftentimes gives them a break right in the middle of one of the sets, and which he did then. And as he was talking to the audience, I went backstage because Billy's always got the greatest food and the greatest booze backstage, so I wanted to get a little bite to eat because I was hungry. And I'd been backstage with them a number of times, probably a dozen times in the previous 3 months, wherever they were playing near Pittsburgh. It was in Pittsburgh and Columbus, Detroit, all the cities around that were drivable, because I love Billy's music and Elton John's. But this particular night, as I walked backstage, as I'm walking there, Mark Rivera, who was Billy's sax player, Mark Rivera looked at me and he goes, what are you, a groupie? Don't you have a life? And just busted my chops. And it was funny. And I laughed and looked at him and I said, go to hell, I'm here for the food. And we laughed and just kind of joked and gave each other a little bit of a hug. And it was funny. And I started thinking, and I said, Mark, would you do me a favor? And he goes, sure, what do you need? And I said, I'm sitting out in the front, like the second, third row. And he goes, I know, I saw you out there. I know where you're sitting. And I said, well, I'm there with my son, who at the time was about 16 years old. And I said, he plays clarinet in a band. And I want him to play sax because you can't play clarinet in a rock and roll band. He goes, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, tell him to play the sax. And he said, all right. So he walks out on stage, and picture this. Billy's on stage by himself singing, but she's always a woman to me. And Mark walks right by Billy. Right by him. Billy just kind of looks a little bit like, wondering, what are you doing out here? And he walks up to the front of the stage where we were, stage left, and he cups his hands. And he goes, Brian! My son's name. He goes, Brian! And Brian kind of looks up, a little startled, looks up, and Mark's got his hands cupped, and he goes, play the sax! Listen to your old man. He knows what he's talking about. And it was absolutely hysterical. My son was in a state of shock. I was laughing. Jackie was laughing. My sister was shaking her head saying, why do you do these things? And I'm thinking, because I can. Billy Joel messes up on the words, and Mark walks past him and goes, sorry, and goes right, and Billy goes, he starts, she's always a woman to me again. And it was funnier than hell. But if you ever ran into Mark Rivera and you asked him about that episode, I'm willing to bet he'd remember it.